All right, guys, happy Sunday. Welcome back to the channel. We back with another Pearly video titled The Previous Generation Did Things Differently. And we got the cool auntie right here and a panel of females, some dudes. So, yeah, let's get into the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe while we listening. Now let's get into it.
And it's all about cooperation. And that's the only difference between then and now is that one wage could have kept a whole household. Now the way things are changing, the way things are moving, you need 2 wages. But because now you need 2 wages, it doesn't mean that you're equal. Somebody still has to lead. But the women are thinking, oh, I earn my own money now and he earns his own money. So all these rules are outdated. No, I don't think they're outdated. I just think that you still need to work together and you can still have those roles. There's people out there that have got married that have still got traditional values. They're bringing in 2 wages and they make it work because they each know their roles. And because they are traditional, like from the start, not like, oh, I'm going to be a modern woman, then all of a sudden I'm going to forget that I'm not a virgin and get married and I'm traditional. I'm talking about the ones that are traditional from the start, like get married and work it out. And I know a few young people like that, like your age and a bit older, that are married with children, and they both work, but they still have traditional roles. They still have traditional roles.
I think it's definitely a rejection of traditional roles in the youth today, and like the young adults and the adults, the 20-year-olds, like, you know, amongst my age, the 20s, the 30s. It's definitely a rejection of the traditional values. I guess it comes from a lot of places, not being taught the traditional values correctly, growing up with social media, all this other stuff. You know, like I said, the where it comes from varies from several places, but yeah, I mean, I think Auntie's speaking facts for sure.
Can I say, what if some women are waiting to find a man with traditional roles?
Are they traditional women?
You have to adapt to society.
You can't want a traditional man, and you're not traditional.
Traditional women are suffering bad. I've been seeing a lot of videos of virgins coming out, and I say we also need to be recognized. We keep being left behind.
Wait, are we talking virgins like sexually? Like I'm very
confused. No. My view is that if you're not a virgin, like you're a virgin, you get married. That's the way it was back then. That is traditional. Okay. You can be a traditionalist. If you're not a virgin, you are not traditional. In my view, you are a traditionalist.
Can I say something that's kind of strange that I actually noticed because I've been watching a lot of like time period sort of movies? The purity that we talk about in virgins, the tradition that come from like centuries. Realistically, there's like pervy old men that were kind of like trying to buy children from like other families. I'm not gonna lie.
Listen, right, my grandmother, my granddad,
like 14,
listen,
15.
Right, that's rubbish. My grandmother and my granddad, they got married, and my grandmother died at 100 and odd years old. My granddad weren't pervy. And they were both virgins.
I'm not talking about your granddad.
Yeah, so you got to be careful when you make statements like that, because she could have explained it better by saying there was some pervy activity. Excuse me, like there's pervy activity today as well. When you say that it was all just, I've been watching documentaries and my conclusion is that it was all just pervy old men. Like, what? That doesn't make no sense. Back that up. Like, if you've been watching documentaries, where's the evidence that it was just all pervy old men?
Granddad.
I'm trying to say that you can't say a whole generation that because it was traditional then, that was old men and pervy, that they were perving on young people.
Well, okay, I'll put it in another way.
Don't generalize. Like, don't generalize.
I'll just put it into another way. I'm not. You're picking like a nice example that is beautiful.
Well, stop picking the bad ones. I'm just evening it up.
That's great. That's fantastic. Another example, like child marriage, it happens all over the world. It's just because, and these are the more traditional places in the world.
In the Western world, child marriage is in the Western world.
I'm just explaining, yeah, that the more traditional places in the world, this happens. So if we in the Western world, we're trying to go back into more traditional values.
Where does it happen?
Africa, Asia.
Which Africa?
That's what I want to know.
You don't know about child marriage?
No, my love. You can't take extreme examples. No. Because even Nigeria, even Africa is westernized.
No.
I see people that in Africa that speak like Nathan and they've never been to America. You understand?
Yes.
So you can't say in Africa, okay, you can't take extreme examples examples to explain what you're trying to say. Child marriage is a whole different. From Miami. No. I'm saying that they speak like.
Yeah, maybe child abduction. Okay, now that's something we could talk about. But child marriage, I haven't seen any stories or anything about that happening here. So yeah, she's definitely talking about something that's like extreme and just weird, to be honest.
American.
Oh,
you understand?
I thought you tried to say I ain't been to
No.
I'm saying that.
Like, how do you think of traditional values and then come up in your brain with child marriage?
There's people in Nigeria that speak like they're American and they've never been anywhere. She's saying Africa. Africa is not what. Don't paint Africa like one backwards country.
Now for you, my sister. I'm African too. I'm Angolan. I know what I'm talking about.
I'm saying,
what I'm mentioning is I mentioned Africa, I mentioned Asia, I mentioned certain parts in the world that are more traditional.
Talk about what you know about.
I'm talking about what I know about.
Talk about Angola.
Listen.
Talk about Angola.
Okay, I'll go to Angola. If you go, even
Angola.
like literally, it's one of the most. This is quite normal. I don't know how people don't understand this. Like how underage girls, that shouldn't even be having sex with grown men. They're doing it because their families are arranging this with other families because of financial gain, whatever. And this has been the tradition from back in the day, kings and queens days, and that's where the idea of purity being what is favored, that's where it comes from. Realistically, if we really stop to think about it, and some of the most traditional, like the ones that have not been tainted by Western ideals,
the majority of marriages in Angola are not child marriages.
Oh, by the way, don't listen to the stats. This is a communist country that actually.
But I think she conflating a little bit arranged marriage with traditional values, because I can't really. I mean, a father giving off his daughter to a man that he sees worthy. I guess you could call that an arranged marriage, dependent on if the father found the guy or if the girl found the guy. Because in America, I don't like. When have we done that? In the UK, when have they done that? I don't. She's talking about things outside of the Western world. It sounds like.
She said, "Now, wow, I will say, see me, see wahala." You don't come and I'm not gonna lie. Don't actually come and do that, because it's not fair. Like, don't like it. It doesn't happen in Angola. Child marriage does happen. Okay, it does happen. It's something that it's a problem.
Minority.
Even genital.
Mutilation.
These are things. But now you see, we're in a society where we recognize this as it is not meant to be like this, right? So this is why these issues are addressed. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure in the Western world, it's universal that is weird. Like nobody's getting off with a free pass for doing nothing like that.
What we're talking about is about modern. Even in Nigeria, there's no more. Even I'm Igbo. Do you know how to say I'm traditional? That tradition is still not there. It's traditionalist, like you said, but it's not as tradition as.
What's the difference between culture and tradition?
Just the legal age for marriage for both men and women in Angola is 18 years old. You are right. It's more prevalent. It's more prevalent than it is here. But you speak as if it's oppressing. Like
absolute. She speaks as if it's absolute. That's how she came in swinging. That's why the African girl, the dark skinned one, was like, "Nah, I'm not trying to hear that."
Right?
Like, why are you speaking on something you don't know?
I'll tell you, because I do know one, and then I'll tell you. I'll use another example. I'm trying to do is expose the facts. All I'm trying to no, because it's interesting. Because what I like to do, is I like people to explore their different ideas. For example,
she's a devil's advocate type of person.
Go back to the most traditional thing. E.g., Boko Haram. Yeah, this is just an example. It's extreme, but just to explain what traditionalism actually means. No, but wait. Boko Haram, what they stand for is basically against Western culture, because Western culture, in their eyes, tainted the tradition. What is meant to be there and what should be there. What do? They take girls and they marry them all over the world, all over like the place. They kidnap them, in fact, and they marry children. And all I'm saying is that actually the traditional idea, the traditional view of purity is not stemming from a woman. Why does a woman have to be virgin? Why does she have to be
tradition? Is that traditional? Depending on the culture.
No,
because no.
And I also think she's confusing as well. And traditional values, right, are something that's intended to be good, right? But there are people who claim they were, under the banner of traditional values, or that's what they followed, and they derived off that path somehow at some point, and they began to do bad things. They began to show values that weren't so traditional, possibly. So, there is the possibility of that. Like, just because those people back in the past said traditional values, that don't mean they didn't do messed up things. But that's not what most people would go to when they think of traditional values.
No, because that is not traditional throughout the whole Western world. That what you're talking about is tradition that is for that culture.
The Western world modernized, and that's why it's changed.
For that culture. It is not all over the Western world. And things are changing. So that is it. If you look at how many child marriages happen over the whole Western world, and look at the percentages, it's going to be minute. So you can't stand here and make it like it's a majority, because it's not. So traditional doesn't mean child marriages by pervy old men is what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
That is what you said.
What I'm saying is for you to understand.
I am using you. I don't want to understand because I don't agree with nothing you're saying. I don't want to understand. You said that tradition means that pervy old men are going to go and sleep with underage children. Do you know what?
Let's rewind.
No, she did say that. Comment below, guys. Did she say that? Because her objection to traditional values, I promise you, I remember, I'm not about to rewind, but her first objection was pervy old men child marriage. That's what she went to, the first thing.
The way you took the example and then put it into the context. That's why I said that you can't use that example to explain what we're talking about.
And the one thing you're taking
I'm just questioning where you think the purity idea comes from.
The one thing you're taking out of context from a historical perspective is people did not live as long. It was not because the men were pervs. It was because people had to get started a lot quicker in order to reproduce. It was a reproductive strategy. The reason that men like pure women is because they had to ensure paternity. If you were sleeping around screwing the whole town, they didn't know if that kid was theirs. Okay. It's not that
back in those times when you couldn't tell, we didn't have DNA tests and all this other
they're
stuff.
Pervy.
That makes sense.
Okay. It was. What is the difference between a 17 and an 18-year-old?
And I'm gonna pause right here again, because the fact that she wasn't able to rationalize what Pearl just said before she made that statement about child marriage and all, like that's just, that just shows, I don't want to say, delusion or immaturity. I don't want it, but it just shows, I don't know, a little bit of carelessness in her formulation of her argument.
Okay, then I'll ask another question. Can I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
Or another example. Cool.
Quickly.
If that is the case, then again, I'll just say, kings and queens, all these times they married young girls and they were not the same age.
Yeah, young virginal women have yes.
Okay,
that
and they were older men.
Cultures.
No, but life.
And also right here, she's talking about kings and queens and blah blah blah. But kings and queens were the tippy top, like the elite, the quote unquote elite, the top 10%, 1%. The way you would describe that now, like in the UK and America, it's a lot of them. It's like, they're a minority compared to the lower class of lower income earners, but still there's like, there's hundreds of thousands of them, right? Kings and queens back in the day was only 1 and 2 people. A king and a queen reigned over however small or however large a territory. So she's still not even talking about a large portion of people. And it just seems like where a lot of these, I don't know, quote unquote feminist arguments come from. They really nitpick and zoom in on the most extreme examples of things when you go back in history. But it's terrible things happening now, and they don't even want to account for the fact that it's a possibility the changes we trying to make from certain traditions play into the fact that terrible things are happening now as well. They don't want to speak up on that. So I don't know. Let's close it out though.
Expectancy back then wasn't even 35. I asked the Asian Romans. It wasn't even 35.
And the girls married younger.
Yeah, people got married younger because they did not live as long.
Yeah, okay.
That was normal back then.
Right. That was normal back then. And what I'm trying to explain is that this idea of purity and youth is coming from an outdated context.
As many of you know, I was just...
Oh, wow. I feel like that was about to be a good conversation still. I might find another video with that girl in it and react to that as well. But that was it for the video. Let me know how you thought about that in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, you guys. I'm out. Till next time. Peace.